Welcome back. This is Jeremiah. He is on fire. You say, Jeremiah, you're on fire. Well, thou hast observed. Observation. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. That's what we're here for. I don't know what you're here for, but that's what I'm here for. The Lord's day is going to be here before you know it. And that's what you want to hear from the Lord himself. Well done to you personally. Well done. I've been hammering it home to a lot of my relatives here recently. I want to hear living bread out of you. When I talk to you, I want to hear living bread. Because if I don't hear it, that means you're probably going to die. You've been going to the grocery store and you're not getting any groceries. You need soul food. You need vitamins for the soul. And if you're not speaking these commandments, take up your cross and follow me. If any man loves his life, he loses it. If I don't hear that, then there might be a problem. I mean, as a Bible teacher and a person who studies hell, we just looked at James chapter 6. Hell looks like an awfully bad place to go to. I don't want anybody to go to hell. But if you start cursing around me or doing things that are against God's commandments, I'll tell you that might be where you're going. Okay? I can only go by what I see, basically. And what I see is a filthy mouth. And God doesn't want anybody speaking filthy in heaven. I can guarantee that for you. So where do you want to go is you want to go with other people who curse. I just went through that with some people I know for a long time, some humans. Okay, and they're going to expire. If you curse, you're going to expire. You will not respire clean air anymore. The way you inhale clean air and exhale clean air is for you to hunger and thirst after being clean. That's how you are going to continue to respire. Otherwise, you will expire. If you keep taking in garbage, you're going to die. If you keep breathing in pollution, you're going to cough and you're going to die. That's why the devil talks hoarse all the time. They always have the devil talking in a hoarse way. The reason why, because he inhales lies. So how can he breathe properly? That was very interesting, that Star movie, with the Dark Invader. He had a breathing apparatus. He couldn't breathe properly. That was rather appropriate, wasn't it? He breathes in lies. He says the dark side is a good side to be on. Woo! I'm really enjoying myself on the dark side. I'm murdering people and I'm going after the innocent. So I'm really enjoying it. No wonder he can't talk properly. All that breathing and apparatus, and because the reason why is because he's inhaling lies. And he's breathing out lies also. So why shouldn't he have some sort of respiratory illness? Or incapacity of some sort? We breathe in the truth here, so we should be breathing smoothly here. In general. Jeremiah, are you on fire? Yes, sirree. We're smoking here. We have some Bible study going here, and we're enjoying the living word, and we're talking about living bread. Now remember, living bread is also a part of a living word. It's very difficult to define living bread because all the Bible is essentially living bread, because Jesus is the living word. However, when it gets down to brass tacks, where the rubber meets the road, you need to get into these requirements pertaining to servitude and all the things therein. Because I prioritize servanthood here more than anything because that's what the master prioritizes. I don't prioritize servanthood because I want to prioritize servanthood. You can see by these scriptures here from the Master and Paul that obviously the theme of Christianity is get on your knees and be quiet and do what you're told. That's essentially what we do here every day. As soon as I get up in the morning, Master, what is thy bidding? Like the Dark Invader said in the movie there. It's interesting, one of the best lines of any movie I've ever seen in the United States came from the Dark Invader, who said, what is thy bidding, Master? The people who were on the good side, they didn't have a master. They said that the force of good is nowhere. We don't know what it is. It's molecules. They're just being good people. That means that movie is basically the devil, because Jesus is all good, and that's who we serve. And the Dark Invader is not the only one who has a leader. The people who are on the good team have a leader, and our leader is Jesus Christ. And in the movie, they were all resurrected at the end of the movie, which is utter nonsense, because you can't do evil and be resurrected. How is that? How are we supposed to figure that out? That was one of the worst parts about that movie. How Americans and a lot of people think that everything is hunky dory, even though you've done evil, because you did one good thing. The Dark Invader saved his son, and he destroyed the wicked one. Well, does that save him? Well, we're glad to see that the Dark Invader had a change of heart, but he blew up and destroyed 1 million babies. So how is he saved just because he did that? He's not saved. There's only one thing that can wash away the Dark Invader's sin, and that's coming to Jesus Christ. And that's confessing your sins and to serve and love the Lord Jesus Christ on your knees, keeping your mouth closed. There is no other way of you to be translated and to be some sort of spirit and hang out and smile. A lot of these movies are basically blasphemous, and it's not good. And you're entering into mental retardation because it's not going to happen. There is no guy who blows up 1 million people on a starship and hangs 20 people by the neck, and then he does one good deed by throwing a devil into a pit. Everything is all hunky-dory. No. You must go to the Son, and you must acknowledge that you couldn't even attack the devil without his power and his guidance. You did it on your own. The Dark Invader destroyed the devil on his own. No, we teach that we can't do anything without Jesus Christ here. He gets all the glory for us destroying the devil. And furthermore, the Lord is the one who essentially puts the devil out, not you. And some of you might say, "Well, Jeremiah, you're being a little hard. He had a change of heart and so forth." Well, listen, in the human realm, we're obviously very happy that the guy stopped wanting to do evil, in spite of the fact he murdered millions of people on some sort of a planet. Which there's no such thing as a planet, but let's just say there is, and so now he did that good deed, and so all is forgotten, and let's be merciful in all of this. Are you despising mercy, Jeremiah, because he did a good deed and he's forgiven and he's smiling, he's loving now and caring, so everything is hunky dory? No, we can't go there. What we teach here is you must go to the Son here, big time. Everybody. The Father said, "Hear ye him." That's who we listen to. Father said, listen to him. That's what we're going to do. And anything other than that is bad news. I don't care what kind of movie you have, some soft-hearted kiddie movie or something that's like for kindergarten and fairy tales or something. Entertainment-wise, That's why a lot of Americans are confused. These kinds of movies and so forth, where people are forgiven because they even have murder movies here where guys murder people, and he lets one girl go and everybody starts loving him or something. But no, that's called wrong answer. Only the Son can cleanse. And that blood, that evidence of forgiveness is not applied to you until you have love service for the Son. That's what this is all about over and over again. You say, Jeremiah, you sure emphasize the word servant a lot. Well, I didn't do it. The Bible does it. I'm reading the Bible here. And some of you have listened to people who are not reading the Bible to you, and you're being fooled. They're twister donuts. They're not reading the Bible to you. Let's get back to living bread here. Jermaine. So part one is basically denial of your body, your flesh, and privileges, which is what the basis of living bread is. Remember, living bread has a lot of points. There's denial, sacrifice, suffer with him, reign with him, endure, and so on. Daily cross, daily denial, daily difficulties for the building up, laying down your life daily. Okay, that's quite simple and easy to understand. But there are other parts of living bread, such as being very caring and being very merciful and forgiving. That's another big part of living bread. Loving holiness and purity and having a pure mind, that becomes another big part of living bread. Those are three of the main points of living bread. Humiliation, compassion and forgiveness, and of course, purity. Those are three of the main points, or three of the main points of living bread. I have more to say later, but not now. And I'm emphasizing humiliation, the first part of living bread, because that's really the big one. Because let me tell you another reason why humiliation is so ginormous here. The reason why kneeling and humiliation are so important is because the Master is basically saying that humiliation is basically going to automatically birth love of your brother, forgiveness of your brother, and it's also going to birth purity. In other words, if you're on your knees and you're saying, yes, Lord, there's a very good chance that you're going to let truth come into your life, and then you're going to be a lover. There's also a very good chance you're going to be very forgiving, and it also means there's a very good chance you're going to want purity. And that's the big trifecta for success. There's more. Those are three. I'm going to mention three at this point. I have more I'm going to mention later, but those are the three we're going to start this ministry out on living bread. Now, the reason why we're hammering home humiliation aspect of these three, and not purity, and not mercy, and being very caring and forgiving, is because that's the big one. That's putting on a servant mind. Okay, I'm just about done with this. We're going to move on. I have Psalm 11 and 12 we're going to get into, and we have Ephesians 2 and 3 today. And I have some more here too. We have Corinthians over here. I was thinking about going back over Romans again, but I think we're going to let Romans go. Okay? And I haven't went over Mark 13, 12, 13, 14 yet. And that's on tap over here too. I wanted to talk about agape, but we don't have time for that probably today. Because that's the goal of living bread, is agape. The goal of living bread is the end of John chapter 17. Which is, I want them to have the love that you gave to me. It always comes back to that, John 17. The Father will love you. That's what this is all about. However, the reason why we're emphasizing living bread is because there's no soap, and you're not going to get there. Forget it. Now, let me make one more mention before we get into this, because I have a few notes I'm going to share with you. But living bread and learning to be a servant. It doesn't mean that we cannot talk about God's love for you and you being beloved, because that's what I was going to do today, but I'm running short on time. But because we're not just eating living bread so that we might learn to be humble for nothing. So I put on a servant mind. You're putting on a servant mind because it's going to birth the love of Jesus Christ in you. That's why we emphasize it. If you tell me you're privileged every day, you will not get the love of God. It's not going to happen. But if you tell me that you're going to humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and you're going to open yourself up to the duties that are laying down your life for the benefit of others and binding up the brokenhearted, now we have a winner on our hands. See, now we can start talking about, Father God, I love you. See, now we can really start getting into this. Because that's why the Master said, you shall be called the sons of the highest. He always refers to in general, shall be. You shall be called the sons of God. Why? Because that's a heavenly scenario. Right now, the emphasis is servanthood. That's why the Master said, if you want to be great in God's kingdom, learn to be the servant. He didn't say learn to be adopted. He didn't say learn to be privileged. He said learn to be the servant. That's why that gentleman on television who said, forget about being a servant right now, really focus on being privileged, is a liar. That's why. That's the devil on television. And I'm here to hip you to that, as they used to say. So that you know, some of you out there, to stay away and be careful. Now, let's let that go, these warnings and how the prerequisite is to put the cart before the horse. No, the horse goes before the cart. We focus on tons of scriptures here about denial over and over again because that's what we're supposed to do. Okay? You got that? Let's move on to a couple more points. I'm going to shut down. We're going to get to Psalms 11 and 12 as we have more beautiful Bible study here in Ephesians. And I'm going to have probably a night lesson here tonight here too. But that's my time frame. Okay. Living bread. You put on. You take up. You hate your life. If any man, if you. Where will wisdom be found? Why did God say that? Why did Jesus say? He knows everything. So why would he pose it as a question as to where will wise people show up? Because he's making a point that the steering wheel is in your car. That's why he posed the question that way. Because he knows everything. So why would he ask, where will wisdom be found? He already knows where wisdom will be found. But he's asking a question because he's telling you that this is all basically, as Paul said, an experiment. This is a love test experiment. I might watch that movie tonight, one of the classic movies where the lady says, oh, it was a love experiment. You let me go over there to see if I love you. It's a very good movie. The lady is the one who steals the show. And, Miss Bergman is the one that steals the show. She's a very good actress. The man in the movie, we won't mention that. He's like a stiff, but she tells him, oh, it was a love test. That's exactly what's going on right now. It's a love test. Because God's not going to force you and twist your arm and make you love him and love the truth. He's not going to do that. And that's the point I'm making right now is put my yoke upon you. That's permanent submission in heaven and here also. Take up your cross daily, and the Master says to take it up, and he says hold it and carry it daily. What does hold and daily mean? What do those two words mean? Do you know? Okay, you should know those two terms. And that's for your earth only. Your cross is only for the earth, essentially. The yoke is permanent. The cross is a daily in your human body situation. The yoke is permanent. Just like the angel told John in the last chapter of this Bible, I am your fellow servant. End of conversation. One more point on this about some of you out there. I can sense what's going on out there in the world, in this backslidden world, this evil age, as Paul said, that you might be saved from this evil generation. Let's not take off. We've been getting into that quite a bit. He who hates his life will find it. Well, my goodness, Jeremiah, that sounds like denial to me. He who loves his life will lose it. One of the favorite musicians we used to listen to when we were young, he said, the best love to have is the love of life. Nonsense. Unless you're going to say that life is serving Jesus and going to heaven. Suffer with him, reign with him. Oh, Jeremiah, I think we get the point. Mrs. Zebedee, can you drink the cup that I'm going to drink and be baptized with the baptism I'm going to be baptized with? Can you? Okay, can you? What does can you mean? Can you figure that out? Does can you sound like Calvinism to you or something? Where God's going to force you to do something and you're saved no matter what? And once saved, always saved? Can you drink the cup? Also, what does the cup mean? Do you know what that means? That means multiple drinks of denial and servanthood and being lowered in the sight of men and so forth. You're going to be lowered. 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 Humiliated in the sight of the Lord and in the sight of men. Okay. How many gulps do I have to drink? Well, there's obviously a different amount of gulps for different people. God told Peter that John was going to have very few gulps most of his life. But at the end of his life, he gets one big giant gulp of denial and pain, and he's in a prison that probably stinks with rats in it, and he's sleeping with rats. That's where John ended up. That was his final destination. Then John said, I am your brothers in tribulation. I am your brothers in tribulation now. In other words, I am now partaking of the sufferings of Jesus Christ, when most of my life, up until I was 90 years old, I was taking care of the Master's mother, and I had it kind of easy. But now I'm partaking of the same thing that everybody must partake of, which is the fellow sufferings of Jesus Christ, and drink the same cup that he drank, and that makes us all one. Hebrews chapter 1. Okay, we're just about done here. This is a very simple lesson. I'm going to move on. I already have some living bread lessons up there for you. And we're focusing on humiliation because that's essentially the key of Christianity. Some people, of course, they're going to be disturbed because they're privileged and they're not finding any self-esteem in all of this. People who have not usually gained any success in life and so forth, when they come to church and they tell you that there's no more success here for you, they're going to leave. Because they're still trying to set up some sort of success and some sort of podium for themselves. Some sort of trophy. And when you come to church, there are no trophies. There's only one trophy holder, and it's Jesus. And so you have to live with that. You can go around the corner over there where they tell you you're some sort of a god. I'm a god, and Adam is pure. And over around the corner over here, they say you can have a planet with lots of wives. And over here, they tell you that you are going to worship Mary forever or something over there and kneel down before a woman who's flying across the room. And you can find lies all over the place if you want them. Paul said, I die daily, which goes back to take up your cross daily. Then we have, what's another one here? If any man love anyone more than me, Matthew 10. The Lord does not want second drawer. How many people out there want to be second drawer? Let me ask you a question. Do you want to be second drawer? Third drawer? You want to get married and be in second place? None of you have half a brain. Animals don't even want to be in second place. Whales make a mate permanently, and when the mate dies, they never mate again. Some birds do that. Some birds have an engagement period for 6 months or so. Where they fly in the air together, the male and the female, and they fly in the air for 6 months. What's my point? Point is that the Lord wants to be top drawer, and what's wrong with that request or demand? I don't see anything wrong with that. You want to come to God half-hearted? That's why the Bible says to love the Lord your God with all of your heart. So it's the all or none principle here. You're going all the way here, or you're going to find yourself facing a partner who's not happy. And that partner in this case is Almighty God. So the love of God and the love of Jesus will birth all of this energy and power. We have that song, I will serve you because I love you. That's why you serve. They had a saying here in America years ago, I used to hear it, love doesn't pay the bills. That's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard, because that's exactly what pays the bills. I learned that from my parents. Love provides your stuff for you. Love provided your parents. Now, when we use the word affection, that's a different story. Some people think affection is love. Some people think that animals can love you and like permanent or something. There's no such thing. They don't have a living soul. The only thing they can show you is affection. That's why Gentiles, or people who don't know God, heathens and infidels, are considered animals because they don't know God. David called Goliath an uncircumcised Philistine. Basically, he's calling him an animal who has affections but doesn't know when he's murdering someone. Lions attack babies and kill them. There was one famous tiger in India who killed 300 people. My point is that lion doesn't have a conscience for what's right and wrong. And if you catch him on the right day after he's eaten, he'll be very affectionate towards you. Goliath was probably very affectionate to his fellow Philistines. That's the point. If any man love me, he will keep my commandments. Okay, what's the goal here? Loving Jesus Christ. What are his commandments? That's what we're reading right now. We're reading it right now. So if any man love me, keep my commandments, where I'm going, you know the way. Okay, John 14. Where Jesus is going, we know the way. So what's the way? He just told us the way. I am the way, the truth, and the life. He just gave us the path. Okay, did you get that? It's very simple. I am the way, and if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. Okay, how can you beat that? And if you keep my commandments, the Father will love you too. So now you got Father's love and the Son's love, and how can you beat that? All because you decide to get on your knees, keep your mouth basically closed, listen to the truth, and stop listening to lies and being a liar. That's all this is, over and over again. Over and over again. I don't want to be a liar anymore. I don't want to be a liar anymore. That's right? That's all it says. Look at your TV and your web. All these podcasts, whatever. A lot of people are just liars. And some people are twisters. A lot of people now come online and they have these podcasts and stuff, and they're fear mongers. You know, buy this from me. You're going to live under your house for 20 years because there's an apocalyptic scene coming. You know, and they like making movies about atomic bombs blowing us all up and all of this. That's fear mongering. They're making a living scaring people to death over things that aren't going to happen to Christian people. The most that can happen to the Christian body demographic, the most that can happen to them is a portion of them can be wiped out, but that's all. The Lord has never allowed more than a portion of Christians to be wiped out. Never. For a 2,000-year period, because the Bible says the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. That's why. It can't prevail. Prevail means to wipe out, to totally control. That's what the word means. So these fearmongers are, and some of them say they're Christians or whatever. Well, they're probably making a lot of money on these TV shows. I don't know. Apparently they are. They're selling all kinds of "I'm afraid of the end of the world" stuff and put it under my home, and and we can't blame people for buying into this because it does look awfully bad, and we understand that. But the body politic will never die. People aren't going to go into some sort of hellhole. It's not going to happen. I mean, during Pope Leo, what's his name? The Pope who wiped out 30,000 people in one day. Catholics are known for wiping out civilizations. I think that the Vatican wiped out 2 civilizations in the Mediterranean. 2 groups of people that had their own race. I forgot the 2 races. They wiped out the whole civilization. One day on they call it Saint Gertrude or something, they wiped out 30,000 Christians. Men, women, and children. And then that night they had wine and celebrated because they wiped out the Protestant. Which is what the Jesuit vow says, wipe out the Protestant. In case you didn't know that. That's why they're good friends with Muslims, because the Muslim doctrine says wipe out Protestants also, basically. Both of them say wipe out Protestants. We're the enemy of just about everybody. But the gates of hell will not prevail. That's the point. Now when the rapture comes, that's when all hell breaks loose. I'm going to probably teach the rapture again tomorrow. We do that once every 2 weeks here, where we go over the rapture here. Because that's the big goal here. The reason why we're eating living bread is because we want to get out of here. That's... I don't want to be here, do you? It's called the shaking. People who have a conscience are going to be shaken. There's going to be a large demographic. They're going to be drunk, drinking, taking drugs, murdering, and they're not going to care what the moon does. They're not going to care what the sky does, and stars are falling down. They could care less. But the people with half a conscience are going to be running around. They're going to be shaking like a leaf. That's what tribulation means. It means shaking. Shake, rattle, and roll. Jeremiah, we're done with living bread for now. This is part 1 of living bread. I have part 2 planned over here for you, and we'll get into that later, okay? Maranatha. That's it for this living bread. This is part 1.